Welcome to the History in Focus channel. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more videos like this one.
Filmmaker Steven Spielberg inside the mouth of a mechanical shark during the production of the 1975 film Jaws, one of the first major blockbusters of his career. The film not only solidified Spielberg as a prominent director, but also had a lasting impact on the film industry, introducing the concept of the summer blockbuster and transforming film release strategies. We've discussed innovation in cinema, and now we return to the 19th century, where innovation was also at the forefront with Nikola Tesla in his laboratory in Colorado Springs, focused on calibrating his transmitter, a key invention in the development of electricity. Captured in 1899, this historic image shows Tesla surrounded by electrical sparks and high-voltage equipment, highlighting his pioneering work in alternating currents and wireless transmissions. His vision of a world interconnected and powered by wireless energy was far ahead of its time, and many of his concepts anticipated modern technologies such as radio, television, and mobile devices. Decades after Tesla envisioned an electrified future, a significant event occurred. The tragic disaster of the Hindenburg dirigible happened when it collided with a tower during its voyage from Hindenburg to Frankfurt, Germany. The Hindenburg, one of the largest dirigibles ever built, was an engineering marvel and represented the pinnacle of dirigible technology of its time. On May 6, 1937, while preparing to land, the dirigible suddenly caught fire and was quickly consumed by flames, resulting in the deaths of 36 people, including passengers and crew members. This momentous event in aviation history marked the end of the dirigible era as a transatlantic passenger transport due to its high visibility and the tragic human losses involved. This photograph, dated 1934, captures what is considered to be the first recognized image of the Loch Ness monster in Scotland. Following the release of the image, there was a significant increase in the number of tourists and investigators visiting the site, all driven by the curiosity to catch a glimpse of or solve the mysteries surrounding the creature. The photograph's impact was so profound that it helped cement the Loch Ness monster as one of the greatest mysteries of the 20th century, fueling popular culture and folklore surrounding the creature. Although years later the photo was exposed as a hoax, with one of the creators confessing that the image was actually of a wooden and plastic model, the legend of the Loch Ness monster remains alive. While the mystery of the Loch Ness monster intrigued curiosity, August Landmesser demonstrated courage and resistance in Nazi Germany. Surrounded by a crowd obediently raising their arms in salute, he boldly kept his arms crossed. Married to Irma Eckler, a Jewish woman, Landmesser faced the discrimination and anti-Semitic persecution of the Nazi regime. Despite this, the couple remained together, defying the prevailing laws and norms. Landmesser's refusal to perform the salute had serious consequences. He was later arrested and sentenced for racial dishonor, and although he was eventually released, he was rearrested and sent to a concentration camp where it is believed he died. His wife Irma was also detained and sent to an extermination camp where she perished. From Landmesser's resistance to innovation, we now turn to the story of the first McDonald's restaurant, which opened in 1955 in Des Plaines, a suburb of Chicago, Illinois. Founded by Ray Kroc along with brothers Richard and Maurice McDonald, it was more than just a restaurant. It became a prototype for a groundbreaking business model that would revolutionize how the world eats out. The core idea was to offer high-quality, standardized food at affordable prices, served with extraordinary speed, introducing the concept that would become globally known as fast food. With the success of McDonald's came the creation of Ronald McDonald, an icon of children's advertising. In the image, Ronald appears in a different outfit from what we're accustomed to seeing, representing the early version of the character now widely recognized. The introduction of this mascot marked a new era in fast food advertising, using themed characters to attract a younger audience. In the early 20th century, bathing suits sparked controversy and arrests. The New Jersey police arrested several women for wearing bathing suits deemed indecent at the time. This police action sparked discussions and debates about decency, morality, and women's rights. At that time, public dress codes were strictly controlled and reflected conservative social norms. Women's bathing suits were required to cover most of the body, and any attire considered revealing was seen as an affront to public morality. Amidst these social transformations, a historic milestone was recorded. In the photo, Edwin Buzz Aldrin stands beside the American flag during the Apollo 11 mission, the first lunar landing mission. With Neil Armstrong as the commander, the mission's key members were Armstrong, Aldrin, and Michael Collins. While Collins orbited the Moon in the command module, Armstrong and Aldrin descended to the lunar surface in the Eagle module. This photo was taken on July 20, 1969, capturing the historic moment when humanity first set foot on the Moon. And while Aldrin was exploring new frontiers in the previous photo, here we see how racial segregation still imposed rigid boundaries in places like New Orleans. The photograph, dated 1955, shows passengers on a streetcar. Due to the racial segregation system known as Jim Crow, black individuals were required to occupy only the rear of the vehicle. This system of segregation laws and practices enforced a strict separation between whites and blacks in public spaces, including transportation, schools, restaurants, and other facilities. Martin Luther King Jr. delivers a speech to a crowd during the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom at the base of the Lincoln Memorial. This event drew approximately 250,000 people and was highlighted by King's "I Have a Dream" speech, where he called for equality and freedom. Shifting to technological evolution, we move to another iconic image that marked the end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century. The famous Windows XP wallpaper, released by Microsoft in the photograph, taken by Charles O'Rear in January 1995, was captured in Napa County, California. Speaking of Microsoft, let's rewind to an event that marked the youth of one of the tech industry's greatest entrepreneurs. Bill Gates was arrested in 1977 for driving without a license. The incident occurred in Albuquerque, New Mexico, during the early years of Microsoft, the company he co-founded. Despite this setback, Gates went on to carve a path that would make him one of the world's wealthiest and most influential individuals. In this photograph, we encounter a scene that highlights the irony and duty within law enforcement. A black police officer is seen protecting a member of the Klan, a proponent of white supremacy, during a demonstration in the United States. In this act underscores the irony of the police duty to protect all citizens, regardless of their ideologies. Now, we turn to the extraordinary figure of Robert Wadlow, whose incredible height made him world famous. Known as the Giant of Illinois, he was the tallest person ever documented in history, standing at 8 feet 11 inches, 72 meters. The photo is from 1939, a year before his premature death at the age of 22. His height was the result of a condition known as gigantism, caused by an anomaly in the pituitary gland. From the impressive height of Robert Wadlow, we travel back in time to an unusual moment. An American soldier balances an M1895 machine gun, known as the Coaching Browning, on a tripod mounted on an elephant. This unusual image hails from an era when elephants were commonly used in warfare, such as in the Battle of Zama. We move on to a pivotal event in modern American politics. President Barack Obama is shown monitoring in real time the mission to capture Osama bin Laden in Pakistan. The photograph, taken in the White House Situation Room on May 1, 2011, shows Obama surrounded by members of his national security team, including Vice President Joe Biden, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and other senior government officials. The operation was conducted by the Navy SEALs, specifically SEAL Team 6, who stormed the fortified compound in Abbottabad. The mission, known as Operation Neptune Spear, was the culmination of years of intelligence and meticulous planning that resulted in the death of the al-Qaeda leader responsible for the September 11th attacks. From the behind-the-scenes moments in the Situation Room to the iconic behind-the-scenes of the Beatles' famous crossing on Abbey Road, a street in London. The photo was taken moments before capturing the iconic cover for their album released in this album, titled Abbey Road, became famous not only for its music but also for its innovative cover design, which remains one of the most recognized in the music world. The first sketches of Mickey Mouse were created by Walt Disney in These drawings were made during the development of Steamboat Willie, the first animated film with synchronized sound, which premiered in New York in November of the same year. The animated mouse went on to become one of the most famous cultural icons worldwide. By 1932, Walt Disney had received a special Oscar for the creation of the character. At that time, cinema was beginning to gain significant cultural influence, and Mickey Mouse was emerging as a global icon. The Academy's recognition of the character's impact on the entertainment industry and popular culture solidified Walt Disney's status as a pioneer in animation. Walt Disney's recognition in 1932 solidified his reputation, and the construction of Disneyland, which began its journey in Anaheim, California, reflected the same creative vision, introducing a new concept of entertainment to the public. The photograph of the construction dates back to before its opening on July 17th. The park, envisioned by Walt Disney, aimed to create a space where adults and children could enjoy together with attractions based on characters and stories from his cinematic productions. The creation of Disneyland involved meticulous planning and innovative execution, resulting in one of the most famous theme parks in the world. Annie Edson Taylor, a 63-year-old retired schoolteacher, was the first person to survive a descent over Niagara Falls inside a barrel on October 24th. In the image, she is seen next to the barrel that protected her during the journey. The barrel, specially designed, was made of oak and iron and padded with a mattress to cushion the impact. Her successful descent from the 51-meter-high falls not only brought the fame she sought, but also established her as a figure of courage and determination. Annie Edson Taylor became a symbol of courage in her time, just as Charlie Chaplin and Albert Einstein emerged as icons in their distinct fields. A notable encounter between the famous actor and filmmaker and the renowned physicist took place during the premiere of City Lights in Los Angeles. This event brought together two of the most prominent figures of the 20th century, each excelling in their respective domains of art and science. Chaplin, with his comedic and cinematic talent, captivated audiences with his innovative silent film productions, while Einstein revolutionized physics with his theories of relativity, forever transforming the understanding of the universe. As Chaplin and Einstein shone in their respective fields, the 1930s were also marked by daring events in New York. Acrobats balancing on the Empire State Building symbolized humanity's ability to overcome challenges, even during the Great Depression. Events like this offered a brief respite from daily hardships. A boy selling newspapers highlighting the Titanic sinking. The British transatlantic liner sank on April 15, 1912, during its maiden voyage from Southampton to New York after striking an iceberg. The news had a profound impact on society at the time and received extensive media coverage. While the Titanic's tragedy reverberated globally, the RMS Queen Elizabeth became famous for different reasons. Crossing the ocean shortly after the end of World War II, it was filled with American troops returning to the United States after years of conflict. Originally designed for luxurious ocean crossings, the majestic ship was converted into a troop transport due to its speed and capacity to carry large contingents of soldiers. A Finnish soldier and his Russian prisoner of war smiling after surviving a battle. This episode occurred during the Winter War, which took place from November 1939 to March 1940, when the Soviet Union demanded that Finland cede parts of its territory near Leningrad and allow the construction of Soviet military bases. Finland's refusal led to the Soviet invasion. A behind-the-scenes photograph from the 1966 TV series Batman. The series, which premiered on ABC, quickly became a cultural phenomenon. Starring Adam West as Batman and Burt Ward as Robin, it showcased a camp and colorful visual style, contrasting with the more serious and dark portrayals of the superhero in comics. The series also innovated by introducing visual onomatopoeias during fight scenes, a novelty that delighted audiences. The moment when the chimpanzee Ham returns to Earth after a historic spaceflight. Launched into space on January 31, 1961, Ham became the first hominid to leave the planet. This mission, conducted by the United States, was part of the preparations for human spaceflights. Ham's mission was crucial in validating the safety and feasibility of such trips, providing important data on the effects of space on living organisms. Ham's successful return marked a significant advancement in space exploration, paving the way for future manned missions and demonstrating the technological and scientific capabilities of the time. The first color photograph of a sunset on Mars, captured by NASA's Curiosity rover, reveals a surprisingly different landscape from the typical red scenes of the planet. In this image, blue hues enveloped in a soft haze contrast with the usual reddish and dusty images associated with Mars. The Martian atmosphere, composed mainly of carbon dioxide, scatters light in a way distinct from Earth, resulting in this blue sunset. This photograph also provides a unique perspective. The moment immediately after Muhammad Ali knocked out Sonny Liston during their heavyweight championship rematch on May 25, 1965, in Lewiston, Maine. This instant became one of the most iconic and debated moments in boxing history. The knockout, which occurred in the first round, generated controversy and speculation, but solidified Ali as a legend in the sport. Disney artists sketching a live deer in 1940 before starting production on the film Bambi. This method of studying real animals was crucial for creating more realistic animations, marking a significant advance in both technical and artistic development. The artist's dedication to accurately capturing the deer's movements and behaviors resulted in an innovative animation that brought an unprecedented level of realism and emotion to the screen. 1999. The humble beginning of a significant transformation in commerce. Jeff Bezos, now one of the wealthiest people in the world, working in his makeshift office. At that time, Bezos was starting Amazon, a company that would revolutionize global e-commerce. The improvised office, with a desk made from a wooden door supported by sawhorses, illustrates the modest origins of a business that would exponentially thrive in the following years. 2. Take a close look at this invaluable photo. The only known photograph of the quagga, an extinct animal similar to a zebra but with stripes only on the front of its body, while the rear was brown. Captured in 1870 in South Africa, where the quagga primarily inhabited the Cape region, this rare image highlights the extinction of the quagga, which occurred in the 19th century mainly due to overhunting. Barack Obama, former President of the United States during his teenage years, playing on his high school basketball team at Punahou School in Hawaii. This photograph from the 1970s captures a formative period of his life, long before he became a prominent figure in global politics. At that time, Obama was known as Barry and demonstrated talent both on the court and in his studies. Behind the scenes of the assembly of the Statue of Liberty in Paris at that time, the engineer Gustave Eiffel, who would later design the Eiffel Tower, was involved in the project, bringing his expertise in metal structures. Designed by sculptor Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi, the Statue of Liberty was a gift from France to the United States, symbolizing the enduring friendship between the two nations and the ideals of liberty and democracy. Brazilian player Pelé and England's Bobby Moore exchanged jerseys right after a match in the 1970 World Cup in Mexico. This gesture not only strengthened the bond between the athletes but also popularized the practice of exchanging jerseys at the end of football matches on a global scale. The spinning wheel, or charka, became a symbol of protest against British textile imports, encouraging self-sufficiency and local production. In the photograph, Mahatma Gandhi, imprisoned in 1946, is seen reading a book next to the wheel, which symbolizes his peaceful struggle for India's independence from British rule. During this period, Gandhi sought to emancipate the nation through nonviolent actions, promoting civil disobedience and boycotts of British goods. Whether in the pursuit of justice or in the world of beauty pageants, pressure and challenges can expose individuals to difficult situations. During the Miss Universe pageant held in Long Beach, California on June 15, 1954, the contestant from New Zealand collapsed. The unexpected collapse of the participant during an event that attracted international attention highlighted the physical and psychological demands placed on contestants in beauty pageants. Dorothy Counts challenged racial segregation by enrolling in school. At just 15 years old, she became the first black woman to attend a previously all-white high school in the United States. When she entered Harry Harding High School in Charlotte, North Carolina in 1957, Dorothy faced intense hostility and harassment from her peers even before stepping into the classroom. Her arrival at the school marked a significant moment in the civil rights movement, which was fighting against racial segregation and promoting substantial changes in American laws and society. Dorothy Counts's action contrasts with the rise of white supremacy movements in the United States around this period, was marked by social tensions and the rise of ideologies deeply rooted in racial segregation within American society. Movements like these played a crucial role in 20th century history, influencing racial segregation policies and perpetuating discrimination and inequality. Civil rights activists in Memphis, Tennessee, holding signs that read, "I am a man," while being blocked by the National Guard in this protest, was part of the sanitation workers' strikes, where workers, predominantly African American, demanded better wages and working conditions, highlighting ongoing racial disparities. The photograph shows Haing the Yu, 29 years old, with his hand on his face, standing in the rain amidst the wreckage of his home after Cyclone Nargis. The cyclone devastated southern Burma, now Myanmar, in May 2008, causing over 100,000 deaths and leaving millions homeless, making it one of the deadliest cyclones in history. Here, we witness the end of a musical era. The Beatles performed their final concert on the rooftop of Applecore in London on January 30th, known as the Rooftop Concert. The impromptu show quickly attracted the attention of both passers-by and the police, who eventually ended the performance. This performance, amidst the cold of the London winter, marked the last time the Beatles played live together, leaving a lasting legacy in music history. Returning years earlier, we see Paul McCartney, John Lennon, and George Harrison, future members of the Beatles, performing at a wedding reception. In this snapshot shows the young musicians at the start of their careers, before the official formation of the band that would go on to achieve global fame. At that time, they were still developing their musical skills and styles, unaware of the impact they would have on music history. Actor John Travolta and Princess Diana dancing together during a dinner at the White House in November. On this occasion, Diana wore a stunning evening gown, which was later sold at auction for $580,000. The dance, which took place during an official event hosted by President Ronald Reagan and his wife Nancy, became one of the most memorable images of the decade, highlighting Diana's charm and elegance and strengthening the cultural ties between the United Kingdom and the United States. John Travolta and Princess Diana's dance symbolizes moments of glamour and culture, much like what is captured in this photo. American actress Drew Barrymore, helping writer Stephen King light a cigarette during the premiere of the film Firestarter in this event, marked the film adaptation of one of King's novels, with Barrymore in the lead role. Shifting from a moment of celebration to a somber chapter in history, the photo captures a young Jewish boy, with his hands raised, walking toward the ghetto during the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. In the ghettos were established in various cities and towns across Europe and were confined, segregated areas where the Nazis forced the Jewish population to live under extreme conditions of overcrowding, hunger, and unsanitary living conditions. The suffering during the Holocaust and the construction of the Berlin Wall reflect different aspects of oppression and division. This is a photo from the early stages of the Berlin Wall's construction in 1961, which divided West Germany from East Germany. The wall, extending over 155 kilometers, included fences, watchtowers, and restricted zones, blocking migration to the west and separating families for nearly 3 decades. The construction of the wall was a result of the intense ideological and political division of the Cold War, creating a physical barrier between the inhabitants of the capital. For 28 years, the Berlin Wall represented repression and separation until its fall in 1989, which marked the beginning of German reunification and the end of an era of global hostilities. Martin Luther King Jr. and his son, in front of their house, Removing a burned cross, an act of intimidation carried out by white supremacists in this photograph, was taken in Atlanta, Georgia, and exemplifies the frequent challenges and threats faced by King and his family due to his central role in the civil rights movement. As Martin Luther King Jr. faced threats in his struggle, soldiers confronted the horrors of war on the battlefield. In the photo, we see a soldier comforting his fellow soldier during the Korean War in the early 1950s. This conflict, involving North Korea and South Korea, with each side supported by international powers, resulted in a persistent division on the Korean peninsula. The war left deep scars, resulting in millions of deaths and a separation that still defines the relationship between the two countries today. Phyllis Siegel and Connie Kopelov celebrating with emotion after formalizing their union. This was the first same-sex marriage performed at the Manhattan City Clerk's office. In this historic moment, marked the first time same-sex marriage gained visibility and institutional legitimacy in the U.S. In 1937, baby cages could be seen hanging outside apartments. These structures were designed to provide children with sunlight and fresh air, especially in densely populated urban areas where outdoor space was scarce. They fell out of use after debates over safety and changes in childcare standards. The image shows the last Tasmanian tiger, also known as the thylacine, recorded in 1933, shortly before the species was declared extinct. The thylacine, characterized by its distinctive stripes and canine-like build, was the last large carnivorous marsupial in Tasmania. Its extinction is often attributed to intensive hunting, driven by the belief that it threatened sheep populations, as well as habitat destruction and disease. Shingeki Tanaka's remarkable victory in the 1951 Boston Marathon is a testament to overcoming adversity. Having survived the Hiroshima bombing in 1945, Tanaka achieved a remarkable triumph just 6 years later by winning one of the world's most prestigious marathons. Interestingly, despite his impressive feat and personal triumph, he was met with silence by the crowd at the finish line. Martin Luther King Jr. and actor Marlon Brando together during a civil rights march in the 1960s. Marlon Brando, known for his roles in films like The Godfather and Superman, joined King as a gesture of support for the cause, highlighting the significance and impact that public figures can have when advocating for social change. The poignant reunion of Terry Garola with her daughter after 7 months of service in Iraq. The Iraq War, with its hardships and complexities, deeply impacted not only the soldiers on the battlefield, but also the lives of their families left behind, enduring the anxiety and uncertainty of separation. Michael and Edmund, known after the Titanic disaster as Louis and Lola, were the Titanic orphans. Following the tragic loss of their father in the shipwreck, the young siblings were not immediately identified, leading to these provisional nicknames. Their story captured public attention, shedding light on the many personal tales of loss and survival linked to the disaster. Elvis Presley, dressed in his United States Army uniform during his military service, is a striking image. At the peak of his musical career, Elvis was drafted and served from March 1958 to March 1960, totaling 18 months. His enlistment drew significant public attention to the armed forces, enhancing the image of military service among young Americans. The image of Irish children smiling alongside a British soldier during the tumultuous period of the Troubles in Northern Ireland in 1981 captures a rare moment of human connection amid conflict. The Troubles, a conflict that lasted nearly 3 decades, saw intense and often violent clashes between nationalists, primarily Catholic, who sought unification with Ireland, and Unionists, predominantly Protestant, who wanted to remain under British rule. This photograph highlights the complex and multifaceted nature of the conflict, where even in the midst of division, moments of personal interaction and shared humanity can occur. The image of a soldier sharing bananas with a goat during the Battle of Saipan in 1944 is a striking and unusual moment amidst the chaos of World War II. The Battle of Saipan, part of the Pacific Theater, was marked by fierce fighting between Allied forces and the Japanese Empire. Amidst the harsh realities of war, this image of kindness and camaraderie with an animal underscores the human aspects of soldiers' experiences. and their ability to find moments of compassion and connection even in the most challenging circumstances. The meeting between Fidel Castro, leader of the Cuban Revolution, and Malcolm X, a prominent civil rights figure in the United States, took place in 1960 in Harlem, New York, during the Cold War. Both were harshly critical of their respective governments' policies. A sailor kissing a young nurse in Times Square on August 14th, captured by photographer Alfred Eisenstadt during celebrations marking the end of World War II following the surrender of Japan. This image, known as the Times Square Kiss, became a symbol of the joy and relief that took over the streets of New York and cities around the world. Another event that also had a profound impact on society. The record shows the Kennedy family, made up of Jacqueline Kennedy, her children, and other family members, leaving the funeral ceremony for President John F. Kennedy, held after the tragic assassination on November 22nd. This event deeply shocked the nation and the world, marking one of the most painful moments in American history. The death of John F. Kennedy in Dallas, Texas, was a devastating blow to the country. As a young, charismatic leader, Kennedy inspired millions with his vision of a more just and peaceful future. His abrupt death not only cut short his tenure, but also left a deep void in the heart of the nation. Allie and Jordan marked the history of the sport. In the photo, the two sports legends are in the Chicago Bulls locker room in capture of a unique moment between two of the greatest athletes in history. That year, Jordan was at the height of his career, leading the Chicago Bulls to multiple NBA championships and shining at the Barcelona Olympics. Muhammad Ali, already a global icon and three-time world boxing champion, was a figure of inspiration and respect. The revolution in the way we capture historical moments and human emotions has allowed moments like this to be recorded in history. A young Austrian happy to receive a pair of new shoes amid the difficult context of the Second World War. The photograph was taken after the child was released from a forced labor camp. Now we travel back to World War II. In this photograph, we witness British soldiers in training, learning to disarm mines without the use of sight, preparing them for nighttime operations. This training took place during World War II and was crucial for operations in adverse environments and during blackouts imposed to prevent aerial bombings. Using only touch, the soldiers learned to identify and deactivate mines, minimizing the risk of accidental detonation. A photograph from the 1930s shows a farmer holding what appears to be a giant grasshopper in Montana. This image, manipulated to create the illusion of an abnormally large insect, is an early example of photographic editing designed to generate sensationalism. Although not real, the photo sparked fear and fascination among the public. The photograph illustrates class division in Britain in 1937, showing two well-dressed children typical of the upper class, alongside others in more modest attire. This period between the Great Depression and World War II was marked by intense discussions about social inequalities. The first photo in history was taken in 1826 in France and revolutionized the way we record history. The image is of a view from the back of a house with gardens and neighboring houses. Although the photo is blurry, it is possible to identify the details of the landscape. This milestone was achieved by Joseph Nicephore Niepce and used a process called heliography.